over to you. Enjoy your half hour.
Thanks very much. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. As Sean said, I am in Spain. I do work usually at International House Riga in Latvia. I'm just in Spain visiting some friends in the city where I used to work. So I'm going to be talking about mindset theory and how we can implement it into the classroom. So for learners and the staff room, for ourselves as teachers and other colleagues. I'm going to be putting all of my slides and my notes onto my blog page just after I finish here, so please do feel free to have a look through again if you so wish. Yeah, the blog website's on the bottom line there. So, how will we go about this? We'll start with the what. What is mindset theory? Some of you might have seen Caroline Fonseca's workshop on Monday about mindset theory, which was excellent, but I'll start with refreshing a little bit of the theory. Then the why, so how can it be utilized? Why is it useful in education? And the majority of the talk will be on the how. So I'm going to be talking about 3 practical ways that we can be using mindset theory in the classroom, and 3 practical ways we can be using it in the staff room. What is mindset theory? It's a theory developed by Professor Carol Dweck, who's pictured there on the slide, and it's about a set of beliefs which mean that someone is more growth mindset or more fixed mindset. I would say the most important belief is that of intelligence. So a growth mindset would believe that intelligence is malleable, is improvable, and a fixed mindset believes that intelligence is fixed. You're born with it and you can't do anything about it. And then many other beliefs, I would argue, stem from this idea. So here's a summary of the main characteristics of a growth mindset and of a fixed mindset. So I'll just give you 20 seconds or so to have a read through. I will be referring back to this table again and again throughout the talk, especially in the practical ideas in the how section, so you will become familiar with it. So why should we be thinking about implementing mindset theory in our educational institutions, wherever they may be? The first point is that when we switch to a growth mindset, and when students switch to a growth mindset, it changes attitudes and it changes confidence. So you can see, I hope you can see in the table there, this was a study done in a school in Oregon in the United States, and students' attitudes to learning really improved after they were educated about mindset. For example, you can see there in the penultimate section, the harder I study, the more successful I am, it should say. And that went from 2 to 5 out of 5. And so if you think about it, that's a really powerful sentiment. The harder I study, the more successful I am. So it's all about putting more effort, because effort is worth it in the long run, because you can change how good you are at something. Another thing that mindset theory can bring to education is results, which for better or worse, we're in the results business a lot of the time, especially when we're teaching exam classes, and switching to a growth mindset really can improve results. It follows that somebody's attitudes to their education feeds into their behavior, feeds into their results, so it all goes hand in hand. So this is another study from another school in Massachusetts looking at students' maths results. And you can see that after mindset theory was educated, after mindset theory was included in the educational program, the results increased. So it's included in 2012, and student maths results grew directly afterwards. So you might be thinking, okay, well, this is all very well and good, talking about studies in the United States, in state schools, talking about maths, but what's it got to do with ELT? Well, I have my own case study in my own lessons where I'm visiting now, actually, in Spain. So I implemented the mindset principles into my feedback, especially, which is one of the things I'm going to be talking about. And there were excellent improvements in attitude, which led to excellent improvements in ability and results. And I wrote about this in, it was in IELTS TEFL Voices. There was a picture there, but never mind. I think it will be on the blog slides later on. So now to the main course. How can we implement a mindset theory? Firstly, in the classroom. So the first way is teacher-student feedback. And this refers to the characteristics of intelligence. It will help us with students' attitude to failure and also to criticism. Constructive criticism, I might add. Feedback to foster growth mindset should be focused on three things mainly. It should be concentrated on effort rather than innate talent, because effort is something that students can take away from a piece of feedback, written or spoken, and that they can continue to use in their future work. So it's something that we really need to be fostering and nurturing as teachers. The second thing is feedback should be focusing on process or strategy, not result, that should say, not result. Students are always looking for results, and parents are always looking for results. But until that final exam, we really need to be looking at what went well, what things they need to carry forward and continue doing, and what went badly. Most importantly, what could they improve on? Specifically, what can they improve on? And so the next time it's better, do it again. The next time it's better. And we'll continue on that upward spiral right until the exam day and get the best possible result. If I give you a result, it doesn't tell you anything about what you need to do better, what you need to do again. It really doesn't help us at all. And the last thing is yet, with negative comments. This is Carol Dweck's favourite 3 letters. She says, if you get the grade not yet, you understand that you're on a learning curve. It gives you a path into the future. So imagine if I say to you, you've been in Spain for 3 years and you haven't learned any Spanish. It's quite depressing. But if they say you haven't learned any Spanish yet, you realise that you can. It's a possibility, and it's not game over yet. So a little bit of work for you. I'd like you to type in the text box which 3 of these comments are helpful, fostering a growth mindset, and which 3 of these comments are harmful, so focusing on a fixed mindset. So which 3 are positive towards a growth mindset, depending on the criteria we just looked at, and which 3 are not. So please type in the text box. So I suppose you're typing which ones are towards growth mindset. It would be helpful if you could specify. Okay. Thank you very much for all of the comments. The answers I was looking for, many of you got them spot on. So the growth mindset channeling feedback was, I can tell you really focused on this, focusing on effort, good paragraphing, which was process, and then not where you need to be yet. It's also important to note, as Caroline Fonseca said in her workshop on Monday, that just praising effort is not enough. It is often patronizing, and it's really not useful just to focus on effort. Effort with process is a great combination. The second idea for the classroom, to implement mindset theory, we really should try to destigmatize errors in class. This, of course, refers to the failure characteristic, the attitude to failure of growth mindset and fixed mindset. So destigmatizing errors, what I'm talking about is setting the bar a little bit too high every now and again, and sometimes setting it too high for everyone. This is not a bad thing. A little bit of failure is not going to kill anyone, and it actually, for the more motivated students, it will help them to realize that they've not reached where they want to be, or where they could be yet. There we go, yet at this point, and they can keep improving in the future. And it really does put into practice Krashen's I+1 of comprehensible input. So you've got your level at the moment. To improve at anything, you need to be out of your comfort zone for a while, and we need to push our students out of that comfort zone, because it's a great place to be, knowing everything, knowing all the answers, but it's not going to help them in the long run. It may be easier said than done. I agree, Jane, but I think it's a battle worth fighting. If we're just going to give them what they know already, they may as well not come to class. By the way, if there's any questions or anything in the chat box, please write them, and Sean will collect them in, and I'll leave a few minutes at the end for any questions. So yeah, please do write questions. I mean, in my classroom, for example, this is a picture of my board I took last week over in Riga, and I have a little poster above the board, as you can see, that says, make mistakes, learn from mistakes, improve, repeat. And so sometimes I say to students, you haven't made a mistake for a while, and it's not a positive thing to say that. You haven't made a mistake for a while because you haven't risked. You haven't tried out that new piece of vocabulary. You haven't tried out that new bit of grammar, which you're not sure of. And the only way to be sure of it is to test it out. Caroline on Monday was talking about how she says thank you to her students for making mistakes. And I think it's a great place. It sounds like an excellent atmosphere to study in. If you make a mistake, thank you for that mistake. With every mistake, we're closer to getting the right answer. It really is paramount. It's the only way to improve at something is to make mistakes. Have a positive attitude towards those mistakes, and keep going upwards. And the third idea for the classroom is that of goal setting. So this refers to the ideas of intelligence and other people's success. Because learning a language is hard. Many of you will know that only too well. It's a long and it's a hard process. It's really nothing easy. So when you're wading through this swamp of learning English, in our case, and you see people from your perspective flying by overhead, it really does, it can demotivate people, and it really does foster this idea that maybe some people have it and maybe I don't. I'm just not good at learning languages. I hear it a lot. I'm just not good at English, and that's it. But what we should be doing with goal setting is applying SMART principles to goal setting, because when you see that you can improve in small, maybe small increments, maybe slow increments, but you can improve, then your ideas on your own intelligence and your own ability to to develop really do change. So this is taken from a book I've been reading recently by Ford and Barber. It's an ebook called English Teacher to Learner Coach. So it's using the SMART principles to set goals for yourself as a learner. So this is actually an idea that I first saw in A-level PE about 10 years ago. So you can apply it to sports, but it has a crossover, and it's very useful also for our English students. So I'd like you to write in the chat box again. What do you think the 5 letters stand for when we're talking about goal setting? What do the SMART stand for? Yeah, a lot of you are on the right page with this. So they stand for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And particularly the attainable and relevant aspects of goal setting, I think we can really help with as teachers to decide what is realistic to a student. Time-based, Caroline talked about long-term goals and short-term goals, and these really tie in with what I'm saying here. Time-based short-term, so by the end of the week. Time-based long-term, by the end of the academic year. By the end of the academic year should see a trickle-down effect to daily activity. You're not going to get somewhere in 9 months' time if you're not working on it now, or if you're not working on it this week in a small way. So students don't always understand this, but long-term goals are not just going to happen on their own. It needs to be reflected in what they're doing at home and what they're doing regularly. And so a practical idea for the classroom could be a New Year's resolution or new term resolution if you start in September like we do in Riga, using the SMART principles. So, I think it's great to have a needs analysis at the start to get some class objectives, but every student is an individual, so there should also be individual objectives to their academic year. And the important thing then is that they do something about them. Otherwise, it's just another English exercise. And another way that we could implement these are growth journals. So writing down what you do, or the students writing down what they do every day or every week, and seeing the improvements for themselves. Because remember, fixed mindset believes intelligence is not improvable. You're born with it. So when you actually write down how you've improved and what you can do now, and you look back and see what you couldn't do before, then you must believe that intelligence can be improvable, and that has a huge motivational effects going forward. We're going to move into the staff room now for the last 8 or 9 minutes or so. So 3 ideas to implement growth mindset, mindset theory, and particularly growth mindset, into teachers' day-to-day workings. So the first one is teachers' beliefs on learning. Obviously, before we can hope for a growth mindset among our students, among our learners, we need to ask for a growth mindset among ourselves. I would hope that every teacher believes that intelligence is improvable, because otherwise you wouldn't believe that your students can improve. But I think maybe it's not always the case, and our attitudes rub off on the students. So this is about setting an example. As Einstein said, and he knew a thing or two, not about ELT, but he knew a thing or two. Setting an example is not the main means of influencing others, it is the only means. So this will manifest itself from a teacher's perspective with attitudes like, I can't give small children's classes, or I don't know how to teach upper intermediate. We need to be adding a yet to these things and realize that we weren't born, I don't believe that we were born as specialist teachers for a certain age and level, but we've developed these skills through practice, and therefore other ages and levels, we can teach other ages and levels just as well given enough focused practice. So we really should be practicing what we preach on this. The second way to implement mindset theory in the classroom is regarding observations. I have a whole blog post on this on my blog site, so I keep plugging that. Sorry, but yeah, observations. So it's a huge opportunity to improve, but it's also a huge opportunity. I mean, you're going to be criticized. Okay, the observer is going to point out things that you did well and point out things that you can improve. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, isn't it? So as long as you take on that advice in the right way, your teaching is going to improve. Because there's too many times it feels like the observation process is some sort of trial. It's a teacher sitting at the back and almost in a threatening manner, and you're standing at the front and you're all nervous, and here's a big brother is watching you. And so this starts with the observation classes that we ask to be observed. I mean, in our school in Riga, the teacher can write down which classes they'd like to be observed. So you have a choice. You can put down a difficult class and realize that there's going to be a lot of things you can improve, and that hopefully your colleague will pick up on these, which would be the growth mindset way of looking at it. Or you could put down an easy class and think, oh, thank goodness for that. There's nothing there, or there's not much there that will be critiqued. I'm not going to be shown up too much. The problem with this, of course, is that you're not going to learn anything either. You're not going to improve, and this difficult class will continue as difficult as it has been, because you were too frightened. You wanted to shield yourself away from the criticism. And when you do get criticism, there's really two choices. You can take it badly. You can put your head in your hands on your desk and think, what a failure. I am not the teacher that I want to be. Fixed mindset. I'm not the teacher that I want to be yet. Growth mindset. You can improve, so you take the criticism, you take the feedback, you work on it, and you move forward. The problem here is for the students who deserve the best teacher that they can get, so deserve to have a teacher who's continually developing, but also for the teacher, him or herself, that if you're not getting any better, you're stagnating. There's this phrase, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse, and I believe in that 100%. And a lot of teachers leave the profession because, they become bored, they're stressed, they're demotivated. I think if you're staying at the same level all the time, if you're plateauing, of course you're demotivated. And so this is a way to get away from that. And last but not least, before we have a little round of questions at the end, general attitudes to colleagues. So mindset theory can help us have a healthier working atmosphere in general. So if we think back to the key belief of mindset, of fixed mindset and growth mindset, that intelligence can be improved, ability can be improved, or ability and intelligence is fixed. If you see someone doing well and you have a fixed mindset, they're a threat because you think that you can't get to that level. If you see someone doing well and you have a growth mindset, you might ask them, what specific things are you doing well? To take an example, someone gets good feedback about their classes to management. And a fixed mindset would think, that's not fair. And you might try and cut them down. But a growth mindset would say, okay, well, what are they doing well? Maybe they're doing something that I'm not. Maybe I can talk to them, and I too can get to that level because my ability is completely malleable, and I'm open to learning new things. So others people's success is not a threat; it's actually something to celebrate and to be motivated by. So imagine a staff room where everybody's celebrating everyone else's successes with a growth mindset. And then the opposite. It's a very poisonous place when you have one or two maggots in the classroom, and soon the whole apple's bad. In the staff room, soon the whole apple's bad, and it's really an unpleasant place to work. So I think a growth mindset really supports everybody to keep improving and building on each other's success. So as Gilbert Hyatt says, wherever there are beginners and experts, old and young, there is some kind of learning going on, some kind of teaching. We are all pupils and we are all teachers. I would add, if we're willing to learn and if we believe that other people have something to show us, and they're not some superior being from birth. And so this could manifest itself in the staff room with new teachers sharing ideas with old teachers, because often they've both got as many things to teach each other from their own perspectives. Management interacting with new teachers, local teachers interacting with native teachers. I hate the phrase, I hate the labels, but you understand me. Things like mentoring schemes, it could be used for. Things like sharing ideas, having staff meetings where people are genuinely sharing their ideas, and it's not just a top-down staff room. Because with the growth mindset, everybody can learn and everybody has something to offer. And in my opinion, it makes for a very healthy and a very motivating working environment in which, as I said before, instead of everyone trying to push each other down so they're at the top, you're all climbing the same ladder and you're all helping each other up.
There is one question in the presenter area, James.
So yeah, thanks very much. That's all I have time for today. So, yes, Sean? Yeah, so there's a question. Sorry, where is it, Sean? Yeah, found it. Would you touch on the meaning of relevant and how to apply it to our own learning and convey it to the students? So this is with the SMART goals, I imagine. Janine, thanks very much for the question. SMART goals, the R stands for relevant. I suppose relevant means relevant to their own learning context and relevant to how they're going to use English. So for example, if I'm a shop assistant in a busy capital, then a relevant goal might be to be able to speak to customers without looking at my phone for translations. So something that we're going to use in everyday life, I suppose it is, instead of having a goal which is so far removed from what you actually want English for that it's useless. So if there are any questions, please do type them. All of the slides and my notes will be on my blog site, which is at the top there, jamesegerton.wordpress.com. I will upload them right now when we get off. But yeah, any questions, I'd really like to hear from you. Or if you have any questions later on, you can find my email address. My email has disappeared from the slides. A few things have disappeared from the slides, but my email is... Oh no, my email's there, below it, and then the Twitter's below it. Yeah, the formatting went a bit wrong. But yeah, please do send me an email if something occurs to you
if there are any questions, as you say, you've given everybody your contact details, so hopefully if they've got those. He moans about the
no more
slides,
time.
and never before we had a man who sent us
Yeah.
more difficult slides to upload to a room.
Sure.
It was if you could see the ins and outs of this room, you'd see how many versions
Sorry.
of his slides
They
are in this room.
they don't do Microsoft PowerPoint in Latvia.
Anyway, thank you very much. It all worked out pretty much in the end. So thank you very much for that. If you could go off camera